Tick tock, tick tock. The clock is ticking on Diddy because on Friday he finds out what his sentence is going to be. But today he found out what prosecutors would like that sentence to be, and it is vastly different from what his attorneys have suggested to the judge. Prosecutors want him to do 11 years, just over 11 years.
The Combs family has transformed their father's prison sentence into a reality show, and its first episode plays less like a comeback and more like a confession. While many assumed the sons would stay silent and let the lawsuits and convictions fade into hip-hop history, the sudden release of a trailer shattered that expectation, exposing deep cracks in their narrative. Sources close to Zeus Network say the documentary isn't about clearing their father's name, but about rewriting history in real time. Strategically released while his felony conviction is still fresh and his appeal hangs in the balance, capable of either freeing him or sealing his fate. Complicating matters further, Justin Combs is now named in a Los Angeles Superior Court filing that alleges he lured a woman to a Beverly Hills mansion in 2017 under false job promises, where she claimed she was held against her will and assaulted by masked men, one of whom she alleges was his father.
That footage ended up going to 50 Cent and his production company, and it's kind of the centerpiece.
Sold to them.
Yes, was the centerpiece of the documentary. So watch this particular scene because this is where a lot of people feel Diddy really screwed over someone that he should be very, very thankful for.
Christian Combs quietly deleted a public threat aimed at 50 Cent just hours after Netflix's expose on their father hit #1, a series built partly on footage Sean Combs himself had commissioned before later calling it stolen when it surfaced. While the Sun Zeus Network documentary claims will finally reveal the truth, their own legal filings and the carefully engineered timing tell a darker story, one where history is being reshaped while consequences are still unfolding. The project was announced weeks after 50 Cent's Netflix series Sean Combs. The Reckoning exploded to 22 million views in 6 days, fueled by never-before-seen footage of their father unraveling in a New York hotel room as his lawyers warned the walls were closing in. Footage pulled straight from his own archives. Now, Justin and Christian position the documentary as a chance to humanize their father during his 50-month federal sentence, but the silence from their legal team, the precision of the rollout, and Justin's own legal shadows raise uncomfortable questions. The trailer shows the brothers watching trial footage in a screening room, their expressions caught between defiance and resignation, while whispers suggest the project may have been pushed from higher up, possibly even directed from prison. Set to release in 2026, the same year Sean Combs' final appeal could either free him or seal his fate, the documentary feels less like justice and more like a high-stakes gamble. Because if the appeal fails, it won't be a comeback. It will be a eulogy, and if it succeeds, it leaves one final question hanging in the air. What kind of freedom comes after your son spent a year reopening your collapse on national television?
Absolutely. My name is Big Homie.cc, former celebrity bodyguard, 16 years. I converted my business to protecting women and children, combating human trafficking. Last year, we brought on 17 missing women, 4 children, 3 girls, 1 boy. So
The real issue isn't the documentary itself, but what it leaves out, starting with the serious legal cases surrounding both brothers. Justin Combs is currently named in a Los Angeles Superior Court lawsuit accusing him of luring a woman to a Beverly Hills mansion in 2017 under false job promises, where she alleges she was held against her will, drugged into incapacity, and assaulted by multiple men, one of whom she identified as Sean Combs, with the filing portraying Justin not as a bystander, but as an active participant in conduct that mirrors his father's most disturbing allegations. Yet none of this appears in the trailer. Instead, viewers get silence, no acknowledgement of the legal storm, capped by a chilling collect call from Sean Combs at Fort Dix, raising the question of whether he's still pulling the strings. Christian Combs faces his own ongoing lawsuit filed in April 2024, accusing him of assaulting a woman on a yacht chartered by his father in December 2022 and retaliating when she resisted, making his now-deleted threat to slap 50 Cent after the Netflix series premiered feel less like bravado and more like panic, especially after 50's cutting public response shut it down instantly. Layered on top of this is the footage at the center of 50 Cent's series. Clips of Sean Combs unraveling before his arrest, material his team claims was stolen despite his long habit of documenting everything, suggesting the real loss of control wasn't the filming, but the leak itself. Officially, a third-party attempt is blamed, but insiders whisper it was someone closer, someone who knew exactly what was in those archives and made sure it reached the right hands, leaving one unsettling question hanging over the entire saga. If that footage got out, what else is still out there waiting to surface?
everybody will be at his parties. Everybody. And like the first part of the party is normal. It's like going down on Woodville. It's normal. But the second part, when they come out collecting the cell phones, and one of the security guys, sign right here.
The Combs Brothers documentary trailer closes with a prison phone call. Sean Combs' voice slicing through the silence in a moment meant to signal that he's still in control, even from behind bars. But it lands more like a warning than reassurance. If this project is truly about clearing his name, why does it feel less like a defense and more like a farewell? The Suns present it as their chance to set the record straight, yet the record already exists and it's stacked against them, with Justin's lawsuit, Christian's ongoing legal battles, and damaging footage still circulating in the background. Nothing about the timing or the omissions points toward redemption. Instead, it suggests a family racing the clock, aware that options are disappearing. This documentary doesn't feel like a lifeline thrown in desperation. It feels like a final stand, and history shows that last stands rarely come with happy endings.
They never would have prosecuted him if it was just a manic.
They prosecuted him on all these other things, and they did find him guilty of this, so that still counts.
The jurors don't always get it right. We don't have to agree with their decision.
I just don't know because I wasn't sitting in the courtroom. And you've got to see the witnesses. Why didn't they believe Cassie? Why didn't they believe Jane?
The real tension isn't whether the documentary succeeds, but what happens if it fails. Because Sean Combs' appeal is still pending, and a loss wouldn't just mean more time behind bars. It would cement his name as the very thing he spent a lifetime trying to outrun, while his sons face lawsuits that could define them long after his case is over. At the same time, 50 Cent isn't a bystander. He still has the footage, still has a platform, and history suggests he's far from finished, making the idea that the family is taking back the narrative feel like wishful thinking when that narrative never belonged to them in the first place. The timing only deepens the unease. The documentary's release lines up perfectly with 2026, the year Sean Combs could either walk free or see his last chance at redemption disappear, turning this project into either a premature victory lap or a final attempt to shape his legacy before the door closes. Add to that the reality that the footage already leaked is likely only a fraction of a much larger archive he's been building for decades, raising the question of what else could surface and who might release it next, and the documentary starts to look less like a fence and more like waiting for impact. Even the trailer hints at this, showing Justin and Christian watching trial footage with expressions of shock and fear, despite having been present in court throughout the proceedings, suggesting there may be images even they weren't prepared to see. If so, this isn't about truth or justice. It's about damage control, because the real story isn't what's included in the documentary. It's what they're desperately trying to keep out.
Yeah, it's not surprising that they tried to get out in front of this and tried to persuade Netflix not to come forward with it. I think it's an interesting argument because what they're claiming is, Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, has had a long-standing, animosity against Diddy and sort of vice versa. And because he's at the helm, they're arguing this can't be taken seriously. This should sort of be seen as propaganda. And one of the things that Netflix hit back with was, yes, he's the executive producer. He doesn't necessarily have creative control.
The final piece of this puzzle is the silence, because since the trailer dropped, neither Justin nor Christian has addressed the lawsuits looming over them, offering no statements, no denials, and no effort to get ahead of the story. And in a moment like this, silence doesn't read a strategy, it reads a surrender. The family may be projecting confidence, but the fractures are obvious, shifting the real question from whether the documentary can change the narrative to whether they'll even reach the premiere without another scandal erupting, and history suggests that's unlikely. In the world Sean Combs built, the past isn't a chapter you turn. It's a landmine you step on, and his sons are standing directly above it, repeating the same playbook he's used for years. Control the narrative through a glossy comeback when the pressure peaks. The difference now is that the damage isn't cosmetic, it's structural. And while the trailer shows solemn faces watching trial footage, insiders say the unseen material tells a far messier story, flooding the zone with a new project once worked. But this time the distractions are failing. The lawsuits remain. The industry isn't circling the wagons, and the public has already moved on.
In the moment, it just felt like, what? Like, is this fun for him? Is this a test?
What's most revealing isn't what the documentary shows, but who's missing from it. Because none of the heavy hitters who once orbited the bad boy empire appear anywhere in promotion. No major artists, no industry titans. Not even the usual allies who once rushed to align with the Combs name, leaving only paid voices that sound hesitant at best. Insiders say the real push didn't come from the Suns at all, but from someone higher up who still believes a name alone can command attention, Even if that attention is now soaked in skepticism, which is really just disbelief in polite language, and once belief is gone, no amount of polished footage can bring it back. The timing only deepens the problem, because Sean Combs rose in an era where influence could outrun accountability and charisma could eclipse controversy, an era that's clearly over, as the same industry that once protected him now applies the pressure, with 50 Cent exposing not just the man but the system that enabled him for decades. That's why this project feels less like a rebuttal and more like a surrender, proof that the name isn't merely damaged but toxic, and that in trying to defend their father's legacy, the sons are only showing how far it's already fallen. If the appeal fails, Sean Combs isn't just facing more time. He's facing a future with nothing left to return to, an industry that's moved on, loyalists who've scattered, and sons locked in legal battles that could define them long after his career is finished, turning this documentary into a gamble where failure makes a eulogy, not a comeback. And hanging over everything is the footage still unseen, because the clips that reached 50 Cent were only a fraction of decades of self-documentation, and if someone was willing to leak that much, there's no reason to believe the rest will stay buried, meaning the family isn't really on offense at all. They're just waiting for the next reckoning to hit.
Did he? Or didn't he? Well, if he didn't, he's got a lot to explain. Well, apparently what Diddy's done now, which is a very interesting thing, is he's on the offensive of sorts. That's right, Sean Diddy Combs has initiated a $100 million defamation lawsuit.
So this is where it leaves us. The Combs family staking everything on a documentary that may already be doomed on arrival, with the sons facing lawsuits that echo their father's most serious allegations, 50 Cent still holding the footage and the upper hand on the narrative, and an appeal decision looming that could change everything or nothing at all. The documentary is coming. The tapes are still out there, and somewhere someone knows exactly what hasn't been seen yet, raising the question of what happens when Sean Combs realizes he never truly controlled the story, and when his sons discover that their supposed last stand was just another move in someone else's game. And ultimately, it all circles back to the same unanswered question. What's really on the footage we haven't seen yet? And who's actually running the show?